You are listening to The Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at BrianCraigShow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Welcome to the program, everyone. I'm Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host, Kathy. Hope everyone had a great 4th of July. And I got to tell you, the 4th of July, because it falls on a different day every year, right? So it was on Monday this year. The day after the 4th of July, July 5th, should also be a part of the holiday because America, half of America is out sick from work today, and the other half are hungover. And people stay up late. Even me, I didn't have any alcohol, no adult beverages, but the radio station had a fireworks display, which was massive, with a concert. And I went to that, and I was up much later than I would normally be up during the week. And even today, I'm like, I'm a little out of it.
You never go out during the week.
No, I don't.
You're like in bed by 7.
And I noticed this morning there were a lot fewer cars on the road than you would have on a normal Tuesday because last night was the big party night. But it's the 5th of July, and it's a great day, and lots of winning going on.
Even though the media wants you to, I tell you, I've never seen so much anti-American sentiment from politicians and celebrities. Well, who cares what celebrities think? But
yeah, they're stupid.
It's amazing to me how people can bash this country on our nation's birthday. I never thought I'd see something like that. It was truly despicable to see. And, you know, Americans have always had the ability, despite, in my, experience, that despite all the problems and things we've been through, they always rise above it and push through and come together. And that just doesn't seem to happen anymore. At least that's the media doesn't want you to see that. Now, if you get off the media and get in real life, you see that that's how most people still are. They get together, they have barbecues, they celebrate, and life goes on. And they're like, okay, we feel bad, but, we're not going to let that ruin everything and let these people win. But if you watch the news or read newspapers or articles, it's anti-America this, America's a horrible place, and violence and this and that. There's always been violence in the world. It's a fallen world. You're not going to get away from that. It's been violence since Adam and Eve when Cain killed his brother.
When I was younger,
I mean, that's just the way it is.
I used to hear conservatives all the time say that the left are the hate America first crowd. And when I was young and I didn't really understand what was going on, I thought that was kind of a ridiculous thing. I said, why would Americans hate America? But I've come to learn that liberals do hate America.
It's liberals.
And that's Democrats. Democrats and liberals, not only do they hate America, they believe that America is the root cause of the world's problems. And,
these Zoomers, too, have been taught, and I really realized today, these young people, they call them Zoomers, I guess, the Generation Z.
Yeah.
That I don't think they even teach them basic civics in school anymore.
No,
I bet these teachers, they're like, I'm not going to teach this kid about the Constitution or what his rights are. No. Screw it. I bet they don't even teach him that anymore.
And, it's a big problem. It's a big problem going on in this country. They know nothing about the country.
No.
One of the big problems we have when it comes to the 4th of July. 4th of July is a big holiday, and it's how big it is depends on where in the country you live, of course. But they don't teach assimilation. In fact, what you're being taught from the left, not just in public schools, from the media, all the Democrats, is everyone to be different and at each other's throats, as opposed to assimilating into an American culture. And, the American culture is very diverse, and they think that if we have immersion into an American culture, that we lose our diversity. Diversity is part of American culture.
Yeah.
And what they've done is just turn a couple of generations of leftists against this country, and they don't understand that America isn't the problem, it's the solution. The United States is the oldest democracy in the world.
That's right.
Every democracy in the world, and their Constitution, most every single one of them is based at least loosely on the American Constitution.
We are the last bastion of freedom in the world. We are the beacon of freedom. And, I think if 9/11 happened today, you would not see the same sentiment that we saw in this country. After 9/11, there was so much patriotism It was incredible. The country really came
you know,
together.
that's
there was. Everybody had flags on their cars and were hanging flags on their homes. And
if you remember,
it was very patriotic. They were like, we're going to come together and we're not going to let them defeat us.
It wasn't that much as you think.
Very pro-American.
There was a lot of that, but not as much as you think. You forget, Bill Clinton and Mario Cuomo, Fredo's dad, governor, the current, the recent governor, his dad was the governor of New York. Mario Cuomo, Bill Clinton, and there were other Democrats right after 9/11 started talking about, well, what did we do that caused them to do this?
Well, I'm not talking about them. I'm talking
and those
about
were
people,
all
right.
Democrats.
Yeah, I know. Well, that's what they do.
Democrats are always out there preaching blame America, hate America.
No, that's true.
And, this thing with National Public Radio, they have a tradition of reading the Declaration of Independence, and they didn't today, or this 4th of July, they didn't do it yesterday. And they did something on diversity instead of reading the Declaration of Independence. It's really a sad time with the liberals, and part of the problem is
they always hate America.
The lunatic liberals, the Looney Tune liberals are not just fringe lunatics anymore. They're running the entire movement. They're teaching in our colleges. They're teaching in our public schools. They're members of the Squad and others.
Yeah,
and
they've infiltrated different areas now that they didn't do before. Companies, schools, like more so than ever. Mm-hmm. You see companies like like this kid in New York who was complaining about the Swifty Marts, the bodegas they call them, how they didn't have like healthy food, and he did a thing on TikTok about it. Well, people called where he worked and complained that he was racist, and his company fired him for that.
Yeah.
Because these places, he said, all they sell is ramen and something else, and he complained about it. I don't know why everybody feels the need to go on social media and air their grievances all the time. Mm-hmm. It's pretty stupid. But he lost his job because of it. I've just never seen anything like it where the Twitter mob and social media has so much control over people's lives, and it's really affecting the culture in such a negative way, TikTok and Instagram, because these feelings that these young people and the politicians and the media of negativity towards the country, it spreads like wildfire, and people are followers. And with social media, it just becomes an instant trend, and it's now becoming trendy. Back like you were talking about with 9/11 with Clinton and all that bashing, there were always people that did that, but that wasn't like mainstream media thinking. The media was more, pro-American.
You forget
but
some
now
of this,
it's Kathy. Like
if you remember, after 9/11, there was obviously among people, there was a big wave of patriotism. Everybody had flags on the car.
You can't deny that.
But
I'm sorry,
no, Kathy, I remember.
Well, maybe you're the one who forgets.
CNN. This was after 9/11, and remember there were reporters at Ground Zero. CNN sent a memo out to their reporters not to wear American flags, and not, because CNN is an international outlet, to not show over prejudiced pro-American views in their reporting. ABC News also told their reporters not to wear American flags on their clothing. This is we're talking September 13th, 14th, 15th, okay? They were telling their reporters not to wear American flags or look overly American and pro-American in your coverage. I know people forget about that stuff because you got to, and I kind of don't think about it too much, but you have to live through it. And there was even a moment where the firefighters union in New York organized a strike, not a strike, but a protest of firefighters at Ground Zero during the cleanup. And a bunch of firefighters came down protesting at Ground Zero during the cleanup, mind you. They got run off in about 30 seconds. So the left are always trying to undermine, and part of the reason for that is the left and the founders of the modern liberal movement are fascist and communist, and they hate the American way of life, and it's a sad, sad thing. But you know what? The 4th of July is an exciting holiday. It's I know there's holidays that are kind of like bigger holidays, but it's probably the most American holiday, I would imagine, is the 4th of July, and I've always loved it. And
obviously it's a totally American holiday.
Oh,
so
yeah.
is Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
But
but
4th of July
is a big one.
Yeah, it's a big one, and it's nice to see. I know you went out to see fireworks with Emily and saw this tribute band to Journey, they were excellent. I saw them on YouTube. Very good, and a bunch of middle-aged guys, but excellent. The guy sounds just like Steve Perry, fantastic, and had some nice food and ran into some listeners, and I saw pictures. It was very crowded and people there celebrating, and that's what America's all about. You know, these politicians and these celebrities, they can leave for all I care. Go live in Europe. You love it there so much. Go live there. You got the money. I really get angry at these celebrities and athletes who make millions of dollars here. They would never make this kind of money outside of America. Katy Perry was bashing America. Do you think she'd be a multimillionaire? She's not that great of a singer. Do you think she'd be a multimillionaire in England or Scotland or in France? No. She's probably worth $50 million. She's on American Idol now because she lives here. She lives here. And that's why she benefits from the American dollar and the money that people give celebrities and all this stuff. But then she turns around and bashes it and does this. But by the way, Hollywood has no right to bash any violence when all they do is glorify violence in their films, in their songs. They glorify it, guns, violence, hurting people. And then they turn around and get mad and act like what they do has no influence over kids. Video games, all this stuff. All this stuff has an influence on these kids. All of it. And it's all negative. All this social media, pornography, all this stuff that these kids are inundated with and goes in their brain. And you don't think that's going to affect them? And then they turn around and want to take our guns away because after they glamorize violence in their movies and shows and sex.
Well, I wanted to talk about this story with Joe Rogan. Okay, let me go read through this. This is in Mediaite, and Mediaite's pretty left-wing, and they're all excited about this. Joe Rogan revealed he has turned down multiple offers for President Donald Trump to appear on his podcast. Now, the way this is being implied is as if President Trump is contacting Joe Rogan and asking to come on there and being turned down. Let's say that he has been approached for Trump interviews multiple times, which I don't know if that's true or not. It wasn't President Trump himself. Okay, I don't buy that. Speaking with podcast host Lex Friedman on his show Monday, Joe Rogan admitted to not being a Trump supporter and refusing to help him, Trump, on his platform. The Trump era is going to be one of the weirder times, Rogan said. When people look back historically about the division in this country, he's such a polarizing figure that so many people felt like they could abandon their own ethics and morals and principles just to attack him and anybody who supports him because he is an existential threat to democracy itself. Don't you think it's not a cause, but maybe like a symptom? Like it's not going to get, you said it got real weird. Maybe it's going to get weirder, Friedman replied. Rogan said he believes President Trump will run for office again. He's running against Biden, who shake hands with people that aren't there. I think he's seeing ghosts, Rogan said about Joe Biden.
That's probably true.
Yeah, which is true. He says, I'm not a Trump supporter in any way, shape, or form. I've had the opportunity to have him on my show more than once. I've said no every time. I don't want to help him. Rogan revealed I'm not interested in helping him. Okay.
I don't think he needs Rogan's help.
Okay, here's the thing with that, okay? Joe Rogan, who is, I mean, he's got a humongous following. He really does. And I watch his show from time to time on YouTube. I don't listen to his podcast, but I do watch it on YouTube if he has like a celebrity interview that I find interesting and I want to watch. The reason I believe Joe Rogan will not have Trump on is two reasons. I don't think, one, Trump really wants to go on Joe Rogan's show, okay? It would be huge. Joe Rogan has a massive following. Everyone would be talking about it. Everyone would be not only listening to it, everybody would be talking about it for days, if not a week
with you
after.
On that. I think he'd love to go on his show for that very reason. Trump loves ratings. And he loves
I don't think
people.
so.
All right, well, we'll have to disagree on that.
And I think that's the primary reason Joe Rogan said he won't have him on, because he hasn't been able to get him on for whatever reason. Maybe he's got a.
Well, let's see if Trump says that.
Trump may have a personal issue where he doesn't want to go on there, and because I think it's probably been Trump that has turned down Joe Rogan.
Maybe.
Now, we're never going to know the truth of this unless President Trump talks about it, and then we'll know. But I think that he has either not tried to get on his show or turned it down.
Well, he doesn't need Joe Rogan's help. That's for sure. To win.
Oh,
He
no.
said he doesn't want to help him.
No.
He doesn't need his help at all. I put a question in your YouTube group. I wanted on your YouTube channel. I like to do these polls, and I did a poll on when people think that President Trump, when he's going to announce his run, if he's going to do it soon or wait until after the midterm. So I'm pulling up the results here. Should Trump announce his 2024 presidential run now, before the January 6 hearings are over, or wait until after the November elections? We had 1,300 votes. 72% said it's best to wait till November. And 28% said now. I agree it's best to wait. Anytime the media tries to push Trump into some kind of behavior, like they love to make these predictions. Oh, Trump's going to resign. Trump's going to do this. Trump's going to do that. They're trying to manipulate him. And they've been talking about he's going to run. Trump's going to announce. Trump's going to announce it any day now. Well, he better not, because they're trying to get him to announce. They're trying to, they're trying to use some kind of psychology technique here to get him to announce right away. And somebody said he won't be able to help it because he can't control himself and all this stuff. I think Trump is very measured in his thinking, much more thoughtful than people realize. I don't think he has impulse control issues. I think he's very thoughtful in what he does. And I think whenever he reacts to people, it's seemingly impulsive, but it's very calculated. Obviously, look at how far he's come.
Well, I think
I think he's going to wait.
The reason he should wait until after the midterms is because there'll be a huge victory.
Yes.
It'll be his victory. He'll be responsible for the victory.
Absolutely.
And when he comes out and announces, it's almost like he's accepting the Republican nomination because he will have had this massive midterm victory, not just of House members and senators, but governors too. Yeah. Now, the other thing about Joe Rogan, there's two reasons why I'm telling you that Joe Rogan says he'll not interview Trump. I think for some reason, President Trump doesn't want to go on Joe Rogan's show. I don't know what that reason is, but that would be my guess. Okay.
So you think that's why he's coming
that's
out
one
saying
reason.
that.
And the other reason is if he were to get Trump on his show, his celebrity guest would start drying up because they would not want to be connected to the show that had Trump on and didn't.
I think that's what it's really about.
Didn't sufficiently tarnish his reputation because
I think he's afraid he won't get guests.
Joe Rogan can't. He can't better Trump. Okay, Trump will best him. And if he goes after Trump and Trump turns it back on him and Trump comes out looking good, which we know that he will because he always does, his celebrity guest, Joe Rogan's celebrity guest and celebrity friends will hold it against him as if he's committed some crime because he didn't sufficiently humiliate President Trump.
Well, so
he's afraid to have him on because of that too.
And I think he's afraid to look like they're friends. He has him on and Trump's a cool guy, which he is, and they get along. He doesn't want to give the impression to his celebrity friends that he's all in with Trump and they're friendly with each other. So I think he's afraid to do it.
Yeah.
I think Trump personally would like to be on his show, but I don't think he's begging him. He doesn't need him. I'm sure they've asked a couple times, but he's giving the impression that Trump's like begging him. I don't think that's happening. I think he'd like to do it. But I think that's the reason Joe Rogan, I think you've hit the nail on the head with that it's just he's worried about what his celebrity friends are going to think and the people at Spotify, and he's afraid he will not be able to book guests. And maybe some people have told him that, have said, we're not going to go on your show. Maybe they've talked about a boycott if he has him on.
Celebrities will do that.
Trump. Yeah,
Celebrities will do that. And they'll hold him accountable. Listen, we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, there's a lot more to talk about. Don't go anywhere. I'm Brian. Always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. We'll be back right after this.
Do you struggle trying to balance your work and your personal life? Are you searching for your self-worth? You are not alone. The book from author Arnab Dasgupta, Stumbling Blocks, Roadmaps to Overcoming the Challenges in Today's Work Culture and Life in General, available on Amazon, is the help you've been looking for. The 1950s dad working 9-to-5 life is over. In today's world, the idea of both mom and dad having their own careers, raising a family in between, and dealing with the pressures of social media and societal change is a balancing act that our parents and grandparents could never have imagined. Stumbling Blocks addresses a new type of work ethic, we working. We working is a work environment without middle management, with teams brought together with companies developing tiny, autonomous, high-performing teams that will form, converge, act, and disband when a task changes. The new work environment is expected to be in place by 2030. Are you prepared? You will be with this must-read book. Order your copy of Stumbling Blocks from author Arnab Dasgupta, available in Kindle and paperback on Amazon. Brian Craig here with a huge announcement from the Thomas Edison of sleep, the inventor of the My Pillow, Mike Lindell. And My Pillow are now offering a BOGO extravaganza on multiple My Pillow items. Right now at MyPillow.com with our promo code Kane, Kane at checkout, buy one, get free pricing on My Pillow bed sheets, Giza Elegance My Pillows, the 6-piece My Pillow towel set, and the My Pillow Roll and Go Anywhere My Pillows, and so much more. Just go to MyPillow.com. Click on the radio listener specials. Use the promo code Kane, Kane, at checkout or call toll free 800-716-4879. 800-716-4879. The BOGO extravaganza at MyPillow.com with the promo code Kane, Kane, at checkout. And with each purchase for free, you will get a copy of Mike Lindell's autobiography. Call 800-716-4879. 800-716-4879. Or go to the radio listener special page at MyPillow.com and use the promo code Kane, Kane. Mental health is a big issue today, but unfortunately, most people are scared to express how they feel or what they may be going through. We can all agree, sometimes just letting things out and reflecting helps. That's what author Reese Williams does in the second installment of his self-therapy series, Self-Therapy, Taking Responsibility, available on Amazon. The author's goal is to send a message to people to express their traumas in order to grow and express themselves any way that fits them. Reese hopes that by sharing his experiences, he can motivate readers and inspire others to do the same, which can lead to healing. This is also a perfect book for support groups. Self-Therapy, Taking Responsibility from author Reese Williams is available on Amazon. Order your copy right now.
You are listening to the Brian Craig Show podcast. Broadcasting from sunny South Florida, Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at BrianCraigShow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host, Kathy. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. Okay, so this Highland Park shooter, of course, as soon as he's identified, the media, they start calling him a Trump supporter. I mean, it's pretty just disgusting. And when I first heard his name, when I first heard his name, I went and looked him up. His social media, before they announced his name, his social media had already been taken offline.
Of course.
And, you know, I looked it up immediately. They had a public information officer who was coming out with press briefings every 45 minutes yesterday, the guy with the beard. And I was watching it live when he announced the suspect, and his social media was already gone. And you got to wonder, isn't that priority a little messed up? Shouldn't before they contact social media and go through whatever red tape they have to go through to get the social media yanked, shouldn't they go public and identify the armed and dangerous suspect that has murdered people? It seemed like the police thought it was a higher priority to get his social media, his Twitter and an Instagram, taken offline before people could go and comb through it and then tell us who to be on the lookout for. It seemed a little bizarre. And now when we find out a little bit about him, we know why. Now, when I heard the name, first thing I did was Google him, and his YouTube channel came up. And in his YouTube channel About section, there were links to his Instagram and Twitter. His YouTube channel was still up at that time. But like I said, his Instagram and Twitter had already been taken down by law enforcement before they announced to him. But then I went and searched his name on Twitter, and photograph immediately came up of him wearing Antifa garb. So the Gateway Pundit has a story. Listen to this. This is the Highland Park shooter. They've done some research. They find that he has ties to socialists, progressives, Antifa, and the occult. And listen to this.
Of course he does. You think this guy's a Christian?
Well, every story...
Conservative? I don't think so.
Well, I know that, but every story in the mainstream media tells us he's a Trump supporter.
Of course.
Okay, it says here...
Trump's responsible for all the evil in the world, according to the left.
And the Gateway Pundit has a lot of photographs of this guy from online that they've pulled this from. Cremo is his name. He has ties to the Democratic Socialist of America, which is noted by the tattoo on his neck. And they say this is the largest and fastest growing socialist organization in the United States.
I wonder if that Capitol policeman had the same tattoo on his neck that he covered
That
up.
Capitol policeman with the neck blacked out tattoo, he had something under there that was big.
I bet it was something related to
My guess,
a left-wing political group.
Or white supremacy, something. You know, the kind of person that gets a neck tattoo like that's pretty serious too.
Oh, yeah.
The Highland Park shooter also has ties to Antifa. In one photograph on social media, he shares his dark Antifa outfit. And that's one where he's got the GoPro camera on his helmet. And I also saw him in an Antifa hat. Throughout his social media post, he shares Antifa and progressive symbols. Evidence reveals he's not a Trump supporter. In fact, he makes fun of Trump and his followers in his social media post. Cremo attended a Trump event dressed up as Where's Waldo.
Yeah.
This appears to be sarcasm and an attack on President 45.
Exactly. And when he had the Trump flag around him, that was the same thing. He was laughing and he was mocking. But what they do is when there's an incident like this, they immediately go through their social media and they're looking for photos of the perpetrator in Trump, something with Trump, a hat, a flag, anything. That's what they're looking for. And once they find it, boom, they take it and they run with it. It's ridiculous. These journalists don't investigate anything. They don't. They have a narrative.
That's right.
That they want to go with, and when they find what they need to go with that narrative, that's what they go with.
That's right.
And that's it. That's all that matters.
That's right.
Trump's bad. His people are evil. We're the devil. We're white supremacists. We shoot people, and that's it. We're going to run with that. That's their story, and they're sticking to it.
And
whether it's true or not.
And what happens with a story like this? Okay, this guy. He's probably just like the Parkland shooter. It's going to be a long time before there's a trial. You know, the Parkland shooter, he's pled guilty, but it's been a disaster in the courtroom because they have a jury. I don't know, you don't call it a trial, but they got like a sentencing phase with a jury, and they've been having all kinds of problems with it. That terrible event in Parkland happened years ago now, and some of those kids would be like married with children now. It's been so long ago, and the reason they prolong these things and try to make plea deals is because they don't want the truth out. They want to get a narrative out there. This guy's a Trump supporter. None of that's true. No. And that original narrative is what sticks. And all these other things disappear and become fringe because they take down the social media. Now, I tell you, this really ticked me off. There's a guy who's a pundit on Fox News. His name is Andrew McCarthy. And
not the actor.
No, not the actor. The actor probably feels the same way because he's a Hollywood actor. I like Andrew McCarthy, but I'm assuming he's a Democrat. He's Hollywood. At least he used to be Hollywood. Whatever happened to Andrew McCarthy?
He does some directing.
Yeah.
I always liked Andrew McCarthy. He was in a lot of good movies. He's directed some TV stuff.
Oh, okay. All right. So he's still around.
Him and Eric Stoltz became directors.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, this is not Say No Most Fire Andrew McCarthy. This is Andrew McCarthy, the Fox News legal pundit, and he's a former, I believe, a federal prosecutor. I know he's a former prosecutor. I believe a federal prosecutor, and he gave an interview, and he's a regular Fox News pundit, and he was talking about the Hutchinson testimony last week. And, this is amazing to me watching. I'm so glad I've not watched really any of that January 6th hearing except the opening night.
Yeah, no, we haven't.
And I did watch Hutchinson's testimony. The only things I've seen of that kangaroo committee, the Hutchinson testimony and the opening night, which was just a bore.
When she was talking that she was completely lying. And I love all these men coming to her defense. They got a thing for her. Oh, why would she lie? What would give her that's their answer. She's had 4 Secret Service men say that she's lying. Okay, they work for the government. They're saying she's lying. She's full of it. Just the fact that what she said is physically impossible for Trump to do. Lunging across. Do you know how big those cars are? He'd have to, like I said, he'd have to be Michael Jordan and lunge 7 feet to get. Give me a break. Can you really honestly see that happening? No, it's ridiculous. But all these men coming to her aid is kind of creepy. They're like, oh, she's definitely credible and she's not lying. And you could tell by watching her when she gave her testimony, she was full of it. She was making it up like she looked like an idiot.
Everything about her testimony was just complete ridiculous. BS. I mean, and it wasn't even eyewitness testimony. It was all hearsay. She said that these things were relayed to her from a Secret Service agent, and that Secret Service agent has said that she made the whole thing up. He didn't tell her anything.
Exactly.
Nothing like this. None of it was true. But the media have spent the last week propping her up as a voice of credibility, and Fox News has been doing this too. Howard Kurtz on the weekend said one of the reasons that you can look at for her credibility is that Trump was so quick to attack and dismiss her. Well, she's out there accusing him of choking
What's
people.
What's he supposed to do?
Exactly. So this Andrew McCarthy, who's a Fox News legal analyst, he's on all the time. I know he's not a famous name, but you would recognize him. He's on Fox News pretty much every day. And he gave a podcast interview, and he was talking about her testimony and how this is going to land Trump with a criminal prosecution and jail time. Listen to
fantasy.
This. Well, yeah, but this is when
they're deluded.
When President Trump talks about fake news, this is what he's talking about.
That's right.
We all know what happened in that Hutchinson hearing.
Exactly.
It was absurd. It was ridiculous. She was debunked by President Trump on Truth Social during the testimony. Yep. Right after the Secret Service agents, both of them came out and said she made all this up, and immediately. But the media,
they don't care.
They've been propping her up as a brave voice of credibility.
Yeah, like Michael Avenatti.
Yeah. So listen to this. This is Andrew McCarthy talking about Trump facing charges from her credible testimony.
Oh my gosh.
Assuming the truth of Hutchinson's account, and I don't think there's any reason for her to be lying about this.
Say another man defending her.
Trump was clearly aware just moments before he took the podium that you had a mob of heavily armed people. That was what this whole...
Okay. Now let me stop down on that. If there were heavily armed people, where are the photographs and video of this?
Exactly.
There are cameras everywhere out there, and I haven't seen this.
I did not see any weapons.
No. But the media,
anything of any kind.
The media took her lying to Congress testimony, her perjury, and are just without any photographs, any video. It's become reality.
Before he took the podium, that you had a mob of heavily armed people. That was what this whole argument about whether the magnetometers should be taken away and whether armed people should be allowed to come. And I thought the critical things...
And President Trump came out and said, who wants people with guns there? He says, I don't want that. That's ridiculous. None of this ever happened.
It's absolutely absurd.
He says they're not here to hurt me, which it implies that in his mind, he knows they're here to hurt someone.
Okay. Now, that's when Liz Cheney said she was reading this transcript that came from Hutchinson, and she read it in her own tone, where she said, they're not here to hurt me.
They're all lying scum. I'm sorry. They're all lying scum.
They're not here to hurt me, which it implies that in his mind, he knows they're here to hurt someone. It's just not him. Yeah. And the second thing he says, which I don't think has gotten enough attention, is he says they can come in, they can hear me, and then they can march to the Capitol.
Okay. Now, remember, Hutchinson never said she heard anything like this.
Exactly.
She said a Secret Service man relayed this to her. That Secret Service man has come out and said she'd made that all up.
I'm assuming if he was indicted, this would go to court and he would have lawyers and he would be able to defend himself, right? That's how it works?
Don't be so sure in Washington, D.C.
Well, they would have to prove that all this happened, and they don't have the witnesses to prove this. They have this bimbo relaying what she was told to say, basically. There's no witness. There's no proof. Again, this is all a nothing burger, as Van Jones likes to say. So this is nothing. This is going nowhere. This is all a fantasy, like when they thought Trump was going to resign with Russia. It amazes me, and I still would like an answer to this, how Democrats can still believe these lies they're being told. They have been lied to over and over and over again by the media, and they still believe, well, you know what? I take that back. This is why CNN is losing viewers, why their ratings have dropped 40% in the last year, because maybe people are realizing that they're being lied to on a daily basis and they're fed up with being lied to. I mean, but I haven't seen CNN make any casting changes.
Yeah.
They continue to double down with their lies. They're never going to learn. They had Michael Avenatti on for months. The guy probably had an apartment in the CNN building. He was there so much. They absolutely propped this guy up. He was on every talk show. I have discs. I have video. He had nothing. He had jack squat. But he goes on. People just lie and say things. This Cassidy Hutchins, she's going to write a book next. I promise you.
Yeah.
She'll be on The View. She'll have a book. She'll make a couple $1 million, and she'll be set up for life in the Democratic Party and get some cushy job. This is how it works. It's a pay for play.
Yeah. So let me get back to this. This is Andrew McCarthy from Fox News with some bizarre analysis.
So he's very aware that you have a mob that's armed to the teeth that he is planning to encourage to march on the Capitol.
Now,
give me a break.
This is all 100% fantasy.
Yep.
Total fantasy.
And then as the testimony ensues, we find out that he not only intended them to do that, he wanted to participate. He actually wanted to lead them down there. So I think that knowledge opens up the possibility that you could prosecute for aiding and abetting the intimidation of federal officials, which is a pretty serious crime. If it's just simple assault, which doesn't really require the actual application of force, just a threat of it, that's a 1-year penalty. But the statute goes up to 20 years if you're talking about, people using potentially lethal, dangerous weapons.
Okay, so Trump facing 20 years. This is Andrew McCarthy, Fox News pundit. He's on every day. Now, let me tell you something.
Oh, he's on Fox.
Fox, yeah. That's why I played it. If this was CNN or MSNBC, I never would have played it. This guy's a Fox pundit.
I thought that was a CNN guy.
You would think. No, that's a Fox pundit, and he's on every day.
Shame on Fox.
You would recognize him if you saw him.
Shame on Fox. I think I know. You know what? They believe their own lies. You know why? Because they want to believe it. I don't know why they hate this man. I really don't.
Well, I know why.
But yeah, we do. But they want to believe this so bad. They want to believe their own BS. And when they convince themselves this is true, how many things have they said were going to happen that did happen or were going to happen?
Nothing's come through that they've said.
Nothing.
Well, you know what it is with this?
Shame on Fox.
This is, it's this country. I've talked about this before, and I know maybe this isn't a great analogy, but I'm going to make it again anyway, because to me it makes sense. It may not make sense to you guys. America is like the Hunger Games. If you remember in the Hunger Games, they had the 13 districts, and then they had the capital. And the capital, which I believe in the Hunger Games was Boulder, Colorado or something, the capital was oppressive towards the whole country. That's what goes on in this country. You've got the Beltway elite, of which this guy's a part of. The cop with the neck tattoo. He even said this. He says, you get outside of the Beltway, and they love this guy. There's the Capitol.
Of course we do.
The Donald Sutherland Capitol. They think it's their country. Mm-hmm. They're the ruling elite, and we just live in it, and we're here to bend to their will. And
we get in their way.
That's right. And
that's why they
don't like President Trump because of a lot of things.
Because he gets in their way.
I don't want to go through a list of them. You guys know what they are. I don't need to do that. But they just have this Washington Beltway Club. They are united in stopping him. And when I hear this guy here should be fired on the spot from Fox News.
Absolutely.
That's insane.
That's a disgrace.
I understand.
To even make that a credible. And I guarantee you the guy whose show was he on?
This was a podcast interview we did. It wasn't on Fox.
Oh, okay. So did the interviewer push back on him at all?
No, they agreed. No.
And say anything like, well, this isn't proof.
No. Well,
she didn't witness any of this.
Here's the deal. I understand that whenever there's a congressional hearing and there are witnesses, it's always partisan.
Yeah.
And there's a party split on the credibility of a witness. Like if there's a Democrat witness, the Republicans go after them, and then the Democrats tell you how honorable the person is.
Yeah, that's politics.
This Hutchinson testimony was different than any other testimony I have ever seen in any hearing. First off, when she first came on, she was terrified because they got her. We don't know how they got her.
She looked very nervous.
And she didn't witness anything. She's the only witness I've ever seen that wasn't a witness. It was 100% hearsay.
The question is, did she make this all? Now, I at first thought she was coached and all this. I've changed my mind because I saw her testimony. I think she made this all up in the initial deposition, which was in a private room with a couple people, right? I think she made it all up because she was pissed. A woman scorned. She didn't get a job she wanted. And then when they called her in front of the national audience, and she was on TV, I think it hit her like, holy crap, I'm on TV and everybody's going to see me lie through my teeth. It's different when you tell a lie in a little room with two people and a tape recorder than when you're on national television staring at a camera with millions of people watching you. But she had to see it through. She couldn't go on there and say, I made it all up.
No.
She had to follow through. I think she made it all up on her own. I'm telling you. And they ate it up.
I'm going to disagree with you, and I'll tell you why.
All right.
Okay. She's not the brightest bulb.
Well, that's
okay?
for sure.
And what they did, the way she did this, you go to prison for lying to Congress, right? And what they did, like I'll give an example. When Bill Clinton was under oath in the Paula Jones testimony, and they would ask him a question that was incriminating, he would say, I don't recall. And I remember hearing some legal analysts at the time, this is a legal technique.
Yeah.
You can't prove whether or not someone has a recollection. So
That's right.
if you're asked a question you don't recall, and then they produce a photograph or a video, oh yeah, now I remember.
Right.
Okay, so you're not lying.
Right. Instead of saying, no, I didn't do it, you say, oh, I just don't remember.
The way they did her testimony was a very technical way
Sneaky.
to get her out of a lying to Congress charge in the future. She didn't say that she witnessed these things.
Right.
It was told to her in private from someone else. There's no way to prove that he didn't tell her these things.
Even though he said.
Exactly. So
he said she was lying.
It's a way where she has lied to Congress in a way that can't be proven legally in a court of law. I think that's too sophisticated for this dingbat to have come up with. I think that's from Liz Cheney and her crew directly. That's in my opinion. Listen, we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, there's a lot more to talk about. Don't go anywhere. I'm Brian, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. Back after this.
Romani gypsies have been a part of Great Britain for hundreds of years. They even have famous relatives like Lady Diana and Sir Winston Churchill. The book from author Lenny Harvey, Romani Gypsies, available on Amazon, is an absorbing book that tells the true stories, bittersweet and sometimes funny, of these intriguing people. The author's grandparents were Romani gypsies, and this book shares author Lenny Harvey's childhood and family. He tells the stories that don't always romanticize the Romani gypsy story. Instead, readers will get a true-to-life depiction of what life was really like for these fascinating people. Not all Romani gypsies lived in wagons, but more often houses, preferring a permanent base where they couldn't be told to move on. Available in Kindle and paperback, Romani Gypsies is a perfect book for book clubs. Order your copy right now on Amazon. Romani Gypsies, from author Lenny Harvey. Brian Craig here with a huge announcement from the Thomas Edison of sleep, the inventor of the MyPillow, Mike Lindell. And MyPillow are now offering a BOGO extravaganza on multiple MyPillow items. Right now at MyPillow.com with our promo code KANE, K-A-N-E at checkout, buy one, get free pricing on MyPillow bed sheets, Giza Elegance MyPillows, the 6-piece MyPillow towel set, and the MyPillow Roll and Go Anywhere MyPillows, and so much more. Just go to MyPillow.com. Click on the radio listener specials. Use the promo code KANE, K-A-N-E, at checkout or call toll-free 800-716-4879. 800-716-4879. The BOGO Extravaganza at MyPillow.com with the promo code KANE, K-A-N-E, at checkout. And with each purchase for free, you will get a copy of Mike Lindell's autobiography. Call 800-716-4879. 800-716-4879. Or go to the radio listener special page at MyPillow.com and use the promo code KANE, K-A-N-E. The air we breathe matters so much. To combat all the allergens, bacteria, and viruses in the air, you need an air purifier that gets the job done. Breathing cleaner air starts with the Oxygen Air Purifier. This purifier does it all. It can greatly reduce mold, pollen, smoke, odor, allergens, and a lot more. Built with style and function in mind, the Oxygen Air Purifier looks good in any space and gets the job done. There are several models available, and they each come with a sensor to let you know the quality level of the air you are breathing. This is the quietest air purifier on the market. With true HEPA filtration, it removes 99.7% of particles from the air. Particles you don't want in your body. Protect yourself and your loved ones with an Oxygen Air Purifier. Visit OxygenUSA.com. That's OxygenUSA.com.
You are listening to The Brian Craig Show podcast. Broadcasting from sunny South Florida, Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at BrianCraigShow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host, Kathy. I want to take a moment to thank all of our Patreon supporters for their support of the program. Thank you so much, everyone. And our top Patreon supporters get a live, on-air thank you shout-out on each and every episode. So the names you will hear right now are our top Patreon supporters. I want to thank Andrew and Connie, Christine, Gary, ETW, Chuck, D, Pamela, Rick, Nick, and Wesley. These are our top Patreon supporters. Thank you so much. And if you would like to support the show by becoming a Patreon supporter, there is a link in the description of this and every episode. You click that link on, it'll walk you right through it. All Patreon supporters, by the way, get commercial-free editions of each and every podcast episode. So President Trump has a rally this Saturday afternoon
I'm excited about this one.
Alaska. And this is for the governor of Alaska, Sarah Palin, and others. And this is President Trump's first rally in Alaska. It's at 4 p.m., and it's in Anchorage. And I checked just to see, Anchorage, Alaska is 8 hours ahead of the Eastern time zone. So that means this rally is going to be at 8 o'clock in the morning on the East Coast on Saturday.
Exciting.
So I know what I'll be doing Saturday. I'll be watching the Trump rally in Alaska.
Well, he is
I hope it has a good backdrop in it.
Directly going after Murkowski. I don't know who's running against her. I don't care. But let me tell you, she is a long-time politician. She's a senator, right? Senator
she's
of Alaska. She's a big rhino. Big rhino. She might as well be a Democrat. And he's going after her seat, and I think he'll win. You know, it's amazing because you got this election coming up in a couple months, and he's going to have a massive sweep, right? It's going to make a dent. Then he's got another election 2 years after that. And he's going to have another massive sweep, especially since he'll be running.
He's going to pick up a little bit in each one.
He's going to have a bigger dent.
Mm-hmm.
I think by the time he has the next two election cycles, and then he'll have another election cycle, 2 more after that, when he's in the White House. So that's 8 election cycles over the next... that's 4 election cycles, over the next 8 years, okay? He could completely change the GOP, the structure of the GOP. There are certain key people he needs to get replaced. Mitch McConnell is one of them. The people that are, have been in Washington a long, long time that are working against him. He's, to me, the top pick, and I think he can do it. I don't know why they keep electing that guy. Nobody seems to like him. I don't know how that happens. But I think Murkowski, if he manages to... When is her primary?
I'm not sure what the date of it must be coming up if he's doing a rally.
If he manages to unseat her...
that'd be the best.
That's huge. She's
the biggest rhino.
She has been in Washington a long time.
She's the worst.
Absolutely.
She's the worst.
Absolutely. We know Liz Cheney's done.
Well,
she's begging Democrats to help her.
I know I'll be watching the rally on
I can't wait.
Saturday morning, and I know you guys will too. And I'll probably be watching on Right Side Broadcasting, where I don't know what the weather's like this time of year in Alaska.
It's cool. That's when they have all the Alaskan cruises. My mom and my parents, my grandma, and it's like in the 60s. It's really, really nice. I wanted to read this article real quick about the gun laws in that city where the shooting took place.
Oh, they have the strictest gun laws in the country, pretty much, including red flag laws.
Leaders of the town banned assault rifles in 2013, including AR-15s and AK-47s. Then they had some legal action against the ban on assault weapons and large capacity magazines, blah, blah, blah. They said that in this article, which I put in your Facebook group, Highland Park, which is home to the most Democratic voters, is also the site of activism, blah, blah, blah. And it says here that they have some of the strictest gun laws. It has a ban on assault weapons, any weapon that shoots automatically more than one shot without manual reloading by a single function of the trigger. Banned. Large capacity magazines are also banned in Cook County. Cook County, I guess this area
Highland's not in Cook County. It's a county away.
Okay. So Illinois, we could say, and Chicago area have some of the strictest gun laws in the country. That does not stop people. Criminals, it's against the law to rob a bank. Does that stop people? It's against the law to murder somebody. Does that stop people? These laws don't stop. They're criminals. They commit crimes. They don't obey the law.
Well, you know,
it's absurd to act like that.
This shooting happened over a day ago, and they still have not told us what weapon he used. The mayor of Highland Park said that he bought the guns legally. So I don't know where he bought them. I don't know if he bought them in Illinois. A lot of times people in Illinois buy guns in Indiana.
Exactly.
But and Illinois and Chicago blame Indiana for all of their troubles, which is, because exactly.
Well, what good is a law if you could go buy it in another state?
Well, that's what the liberals say.
And then bring it over.
The liberals say the reason that gun laws don't work is because the surrounding states don't have the same laws, that we all need to have laws.
Well, criminals
like
are not going to obey laws. That's not going to stop a guy who's hell-bent on doing something
They have not told us more than a day later what type of gun he used. And they knew right away because he found it. He was dressed like a woman,
right,
made his escape. He dropped the gun at the location. Right. They had the gun.
What kind do you think?
And
you heard it go off?
It's hard to say. It was too far away. My guess is an AR-15 because that's what these young guys use.
That's what they like.
But I don't understand why they won't tell us what kind of gun, especially now that he's in custody. I'm sure it's going to come out.
Probably because it's banned in that city.
Something. Yeah, there's something about the gun that they don't want us to know. And they know you're eventually going to find out, but they want to put it off until the story's old and it's not that big of a deal. I'll tell you another thing, too. We were talking earlier about all these groups he's connected with. Mm-hmm. This guy is seriously connected to these radical groups to have the tattoos on his face and neck from them. He's part of a group of other people that are in these radical revolutionary groups that he's a part of.
They tattoo themselves to show that they're a part of that. That's when you're like a real member. I don't think they even let them put tattoos on unless
they started looking for this cell, this Antifa Democratic Socialist cell of his?
Of course not. They like to act like Antifa doesn't exist. Remember Biden said Antifa doesn't exist?
They have a photograph of him at a Trump rally with a couple of his friends, 3 or 4 of his friends. Mm-hmm. And my guess would be they're in this little cell that he's in. So I haven't even heard anyone in the media trying to identify and track them down to find out if anyone had prior knowledge. Is there a cell? Could there be other incidents?
That takes too much effort.
Well, because it doesn't fit the narrative because they are leftists. Listen, we're all out of time, but we will be back next time. I'm Brian, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. Thanks for listening, and we will talk to you next time.
Are your pants falling down? There is a solution. Skinny Clip, available on Amazon and skinnyclip.com. Belts are bulky, uncomfortable, and expensive. Skinny Clip replaces the belt. Skinny Clip is an easy-to-use waistband tightener for men and women. It can easily work to tighten a belt on pants that are too loose. Skinny Clip tightens your pants without a belt. Maybe you lost some weight and you don't want to buy a new wardrobe. Maybe someone gave you clothes that you love, but they're a little too big. Skinny Clip can make them fit just right. Skinny Clip is a newly patented invention that holds up oversized pants easily and comfortably. It's easy to use too. Simply slide your waistband, twist, and hook. That's it. It works great on all types of fabric, skirts, slacks, jeans, and shorts. It's perfect for blue jeans that loosen up during the day. It's affordable and available in multiple colors. Your satisfaction is guaranteed. Skinny Clip, when you're skinny for yourself. Skinny Clip is available on Amazon. Just search Skinny Clip or visit the website skinnyclip.com.